Look at this is like 20 minutes of snorkeling around. Lightning welts. I just want to talk about how amazing it is if you look between the cracks and crevices. Right there. Oh yeah, pour it in here. Look, he comes out at night. Look at him there. He's inside there. See him? That's his little body. That's great. Well, hello. We're back in a creek because you should always get yourself in a creek if you can find one. You should be near water. And if you can, get in the water. Now, that being said, some of these environments, the animals, are not always the nicest. I don't mean that they're mean. Oh, hold on. That doesn't mean they're necessarily super friendly. So when we're working with animals, and by that I mean just going over and exploring and looking at them, it's important for you to remember that it is always a good idea to take your time, be safe, be careful, be gentle, be respectful, and also know that this is not your home. This is their home. So I went into the Florida swamplands and the rivers of southern Florida with a man from the Isles of the North. I went with a man who knew how to kayak so well that he went around an entire island in the North Atlantic. And I had an opportunity to go paddling around a river system in Florida with him. And what I learned is there are alligators everywhere. Like, seriously everywhere. Like, there are alligators that are crawling on the banks of every river you're ever gonna go in the entire time you're in Florida, more or less. Don't quote me on that. But alligators are these ferocious looking animals that sit there on the shore and just look at you.
They sit under the water. When you come, they see you, they'll pop up.
Sometimes they will. Alligators are very interesting animals because they're wearing a giant suit of armor. They live in an environment that is so rough It chews you apart. Not made for my skin, you see? I'm a little too tender for those gator skins. They're rough and they're durable and they're strong and they're powerful and they're fast and they look really scary, but they're really not mean. You see, most alligators have a bad reputation because they just look like a monster. And they kind of are. They're like a dinosaur, for real. They're real living dinosaurs that you can see with your eyes. Don't you want to see what a dinosaur looks like in the eye?
Yeah.
Well, I sure do. So what I did, I took a goggle and a snorkel with me when I went kayaking up a river in Florida. And I found alligators everywhere. And I decided I'm going to swim up to one of those and look it in the eye, just to see what it looks like. I didn't tell anybody about this ahead of time. It's probably not a good idea. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. I'm just saying it probably couldn't turn out well. I still have all my fingers and hands and faces. Think about that one for a while. I still have them all. So when I swim up to an alligator, I try not to give too many of my fingers away. So I tried to use my legs, like this. But I did it way better than that. But I kind of fell getting out of the kayak and I took my life jacket off and it was just definitely not so like smooth as I was hoping it was going to be. And I saw this alligator and he was sitting on the shore and I knew he was the one for me and I was the one for him. And so I slowly paddled my way up, right up to him. And you know what? He could have jumped out at any moment and literally bit me apart. So don't do this necessarily unless you're really ready to be so committed that you could end up in the hospital or dead. Don't mess around with alligators. They're bigger than you are, and they're faster and stronger. That being said, don't be afraid of them. They're amazing. And so I swam up towards him. And as I got nearer, I suddenly had this thought that I should turn around and say something about how I can see into his eye right now. And so as I started to turn my head, all of a sudden the alligator took off, and he was going into the water. And by the time I looked back, he was gone. And guess what? He was right next to me. He went swimming right on by me and I could feel the water swirl around me. And I got splashed up on it and I wanted to just crawl on the shore and feel what it felt like to be where the alligator was. And I could see that this alligator had actually was alive. And that's what you can't see in a zoo. That's what you can never see in a TV. You gotta go look an animal in the eye yourself. If it's an alligator because you're in Florida, go look an alligator in the eye. If it's a fish because you live somewhere where they have really cool trout, go look a trout in the eye. Go look nature in the eye. Don't be afraid of it. Be innately curious. Because by doing so, you might just end up swimming with an alligator in Florida unexpectedly. That being said, I thank each of you for watching today. If you're interested and curious yourself, I hope that you go out and start an adventure with yourself or with the people around you and make them curious about nature too. Because if you hang around long enough, nature will grow on you. Now this is about as close as I've ever gotten. Where you can see the power in these animals, their tail. They're just built everything for this brutally wretched environment. In and out of the water, on the banks, on rocks and fish.
Well, I want to see what Nathan has here. I think it's the lifetime shell. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.